He stepped out of the prison gates with a small plastic bag in his hand, and a freedom that felt heavier than the bars he had left behind. The air outside smelled different. Not better. Just unfamiliar. As if the world had moved on without asking whether he was ready to follow. He stood there for a moment longer than necessary, staring at the road, half expecting someone to be waiting for him. No one was. "Guess it's just you and me now," he muttered to himself, and his voice sounded strange in the open space, as if it wasn't used to being heard. The bus ride into the city was quiet. Too quiet. He watched buildings pass by like memories he wasn't sure belonged to him anymore. New stores where old ones used to be. Different colors. Different faces. The city had changed, and the painful part was not that it had changed, but that it had done so effortlessly. When he got off the bus, he stood on the sidewalk with nowhere specific to go. This was his city. Or at least, it used to be. He walked past streets where he once knew every shortcut, every crack in the pavement. Now even the graffiti was unfamiliar. He felt like a guest in a place that once carried his name. He stopped in front of a cafe that used to be a small grocery store. He remembered standing there years ago, arguing with his younger brother about nothing important. The memory hit him so suddenly that he had to sit down on the bench across the street. His chest tightened. They don't know you anymore, he thought. And maybe they never will. Later that day, he found his way to the old apartment building. The walls were repainted, the entrance code protected. He pressed the intercom, unsure why. A woman's voice answered. "Yes. I am looking for Maria," he said, his throat dry. A pause. "She moved out years ago." "Oh," he replied. That was all he managed. He walked away before she could ask who he was. As evening came, the city lights turned on, one by one, like a silent show he was no longer part of. He ended up at a small bar near the river. Inside, the smell of alcohol and old wood wrapped around him. It felt familiar enough to stay. "What can I get you?" the bartender asked. "Whatever's cheapest," he said. The bartender nodded, slid the glass toward him, then paused. "You new around here?" He almost laughed. "Something like that." He took a sip. The burn reminded him he was still alive. Still here. Even if no one noticed. At the corner table, he overheard people talking about plans, about tomorrow, about things that assumed a future. He wondered when he had stopped doing that, thinking ahead. In prison, the future was counted in days crossed off a calendar. Out here, it was wide and terrifying. He left the bar and walked toward the river. The water moved steadily, indifferent to his return. He leaned on the railing and finally allowed himself to think the thought he had been avoiding all day. "I paid for my mistakes," he whispered. But why does it feel like the sentence never ended? A voice behind him broke the silence. "You always did like standing here." He turned slowly. His heart stumbled. It was her. She looked older. Not in a bad way. Just real. Like life had touched her too. "Hi," she said softly. "Hi," he replied, and 1,000 words died between them. "I heard you were out," she continued. "Someone told me this morning." "News travels fast," he said. "Not always," she answered. "Some things disappear." They stood there, side by side, watching the river. "I don't belong here anymore," he said suddenly. "The city forgot me." She looked at him. "The city didn't forget," she said. "It just didn't wait." He nodded. "Did you?" She hesitated. "Just for a second. I waited longer than I should have." That was enough. Enough truth for one night. When they said goodbye, there were no promises. No dramatic words. Just a quiet understanding that some chapters don't need to be reopened to be remembered. He walked away alone, but lighter. The city hadn't taken him back. But for the first time since the gates opened, he realized something important. He wasn't here to return to the past. He was here to start again. The night swallowed him whole. The river was behind him now, but its cold presence stayed inside his chest, heavy and unmoving. He walked without direction, letting the city decide where he would end up, the same way it once decided where he would fall. Every reflection in the shop windows looked like a stranger. His face carried marks no sentence could erase. A tightened jaw, eyes that scanned exits automatically, shoulders that never fully relaxed. Freedom hadn't softened him. It had exposed him. You're out, he told himself. So why do you still feel locked in? He passed a group of young guys laughing too loudly, careless in a way only people untouched by consequences can be. One of them bumped into him. Watch it, the kid snapped. He looked at the boy for a long second. Saw his old self there. Angry. Untouchable. Stupid. Yeah, he said quietly. You should. He kept walking. Prison had taught him something brutal but useful. Not every fight is worth surviving. By morning, exhaustion dragged him into a cheap room above a closed-down laundromat. The mattress smelled of old sweat and regret. He lay there fully dressed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the city wake up without him. Sleep came in pieces. So did memories. The trial. The verdict. The sound of the door closing for the first time. The moment he realized no apology would ever be enough. He woke up with his heart racing. I did my time, he whispered. Didn't I? Days passed. He tried to find work. Construction sites. Warehouses. Kitchens. Every conversation ended the same way. You got experience? Yes. You got a record? Yes. Sorry. The word followed him like a shadow. Sorry we don't trust you. Sorry you made choices. Sorry you're not invisible enough. At night, the city felt less judgmental. He walked its darker streets, where no one asked questions because everyone had something to hide. Old names resurfaced. Old doors opened just enough to remind him how easy it would be. You know you could make quick money, a man said one night, leaning against a car. You were always good at that. He felt the familiar pull. The dangerous comfort of knowing exactly who he used to be. For a while, he admitted. I was. The man smiled. People don't really change. He looked at the smile and felt tired. Bone tired. Maybe not, he said. But they get tired of paying the same price. He walked away before the offer could sound like hope. One evening, he stood outside the apartment building where she lived now. He hadn't planned to come. His feet had decided for him. Lights glowed behind her windows. A life. A safe one. He didn't ring the bell. She deserves peace, he thought. And I'm still learning how to live with noise. He turned around and sat on the steps, head in his hands. For the first time since getting out, he allowed himself to feel the full weight of what freedom really was. No structure. No excuses. No one to blame. Just choice. Every day. Every hour. I survived prison, he said quietly. Now I have to survive myself. Weeks later, he found work cleaning floors at night. It wasn't dignity. It wasn't redemption. But it was honest. The building was empty, silent, unforgiving. Perfect. As he pushed the mop across cold tiles, he thought about the city. How it hadn't forgiven him. How it probably never would. But forgiveness, he realized, wasn't something you wait for. It was something you build. Slowly. Quietly. With hands that once destroyed and now only cleaned. Some nights, the darkness still whispered to him. Reminded him how easy it would be to stop trying. To disappear into old patterns where pain felt familiar. But every morning, he woke up still here. Still choosing. And maybe that was the hardest sentence of all. Not prison. Not the city. But living with the knowledge that no one was coming to save him. And standing up anyway winter came quietly, without asking whether he was ready. The cold settled into his bones the same way prison once had. Slowly, permanently. Night work kept him invisible, and invisibility became his new safety. No questions. No expectations. Just movement and silence. Sometimes, while scrubbing stains no one else wanted to touch, he wondered if this was what redemption looked like when no one was watching. Is this enough? He asked the empty halls. They never answered. One night, on his way home, he saw flashing lights at the corner store. Police. An ambulance. A crowd. He stopped at a distance, instinct screaming at him to stay unseen. Old reflexes didn't die, they waited. Someone in the crowd said, "Another idiot thought he could run." The words landed hard. He remembered that feeling. The rush. The lie you tell yourself right before everything collapses. He remembered believing he was smarter than consequences. He walked away before the scene could pull him back into memories sharp enough to cut. That same night, his phone buzzed for the first time in weeks. An unknown number. You still owe people. Some debts don't disappear. He stared at the screen until it went dark. They're right, he thought. Some debts don't. The next days were heavy. Every step felt watched. Every shadow too familiar. He avoided the usual streets, the usual faces. But the past had patience. It always did. Then came the knock. 3 sharp hits on his door. Not loud. Confident. He didn't ask who it was. You look thinner, the man said, stepping inside like he still belonged there. Prison didn't do you any favors. I'm not in that life anymore, he said immediately. No anger. Just fact. The man smiled the way people smile when they already know the answer. Life doesn't care what you want, only what you owe. The room felt smaller. That night, he didn't sleep. He sat on the edge of the bed, elbows on his knees, staring at the floor. I can't go back, he whispered. I won't survive it twice. Morning came with a decision he didn't feel ready to make, but made anyway. He went to the river again. The same spot. Same cold water. Different man. I keep thinking freedom means escape, he thought. But maybe it means standing still and letting the truth catch up. He walked into the police station just before noon. The officer behind the desk barely looked up. Yes. I need to talk, he said. His voice didn't shake. That surprised him. About something I was part of. Years ago. The officer finally met his eyes. Somewhere, far away, a door closed. Not behind him. Ahead. Hours later, he walked out lighter and heavier all at once. He didn't know what would happen next. Charges. Threats. Consequences. But for the first time, fear wasn't driving. Choice was. That evening, he passed the cafe again. The one that replaced the old grocery store. Through the window, he saw people laughing, planning, living. Ordinary lives built on ordinary courage. He didn't envy them anymore. He had stopped asking the city to forgive him. He had stopped asking the past to loosen its grip. Now he only asked himself one question, every single day. Will I run or will I stay? And every morning he woke up still here, still breathing, still choosing the harder answer. Not because it made him good, but because it finally made him free. Freedom didn't arrive after the police station. It never does. What came instead was waiting. Long, hollow waiting, filled with silence sharp enough to scrape the inside of his skull. He went back to his night job, back to the mop, back to the empty halls, but something inside him had shifted. He had spoken. And once truth leaves your mouth, it doesn't let you sleep peacefully again. He started noticing how people looked at him. Or rather, how they didn't. Invisible men learn to read absence like a language. No eye contact. No curiosity. Just space carefully maintained, as if his past might be contagious. Good, he thought. Distance is safer. Then the consequences began arriving in small, unremarkable ways. His landlord said, I need the room back. No explanation. No argument. Just a door quietly closing. At work, the supervisor avoided him for 2 nights straight before finally saying, budget cuts. Nothing personal. Everything was always nothing personal. He slept in his jacket after that. In abandoned stairwells. In places where no one cared enough to ask questions. Hunger became a dull companion, easier to ignore than hope. One night, while sitting on cold concrete behind a closed supermarket, he laughed. Not loudly. Just once. Short and broken. So this is it, he whispered. This is what honesty buys you. A man sat down beside him without asking. Older. Scarred. Familiar in the way broken people recognize each other instantly. You look like someone who tried to do the right thing, the man said. He didn't answer. That's usually the most expensive mistake, the man continued. He finally spoke. Does it get easier? The man thought for a moment. No. You just get quieter about the pain. They sat there in silence. 2 men with different stories and the same ending. Days blurred. Nights stretched. He stopped counting time because counting required believing it mattered. His thoughts grew darker, narrower. Survival stripped philosophy down to its bones. Maybe this is all I'm good for. Maybe prison just trained me for a smaller cage. One early morning, just before dawn, he stood on the bridge over the river again. The water below was black, patient, honest. It didn't pretend things would get better. Everyone keeps telling me to move on, he said softly. But nobody tells you where. The wind cut through him. Cars passed without slowing. For a moment, just one, the idea felt light. No more choices. No more resistance. Just silence. Then his phone buzzed. A message. From her. I don't know if you'll read this, but I saw you yesterday. You looked like you were disappearing. Please don't. His hand shook. She hadn't promised anything. Hadn't saved him. Hadn't forgiven him. She had only noticed. And somehow, that hurt more than indifference. He stepped back from the railing and sat on the pavement, pressing his palms into his eyes like he could push the darkness out that way. I'm still here, he told no one. I don't know why. But I am. Later that day, he walked into a shelter and asked for work. Not help. Work. Something earned. Something real. They gave him a broom. It felt heavier than the mop ever had. And somehow more honest. That night, as he swept floors among men who carried their failures openly, he understood something brutal and simple. Redemption doesn't arrive like a sunrise. It crawls in, on its knees, bleeding, asking if you'll still choose it tomorrow. And tomorrow scared him. But he stayed. Still tired. Still unwanted. Still breathing. Not because life had become kind, but because quitting would have been easier, and he had already lived one easy life. The last thing he learned was this. Life doesn't give endings. It gives days, and then waits to see what you do with them. Spring came, unnoticed at first. The cold loosened its grip, but nothing inside him bloomed with it. He still swept floors at the shelter. Still slept lightly. Still carried his past the way some men carry old injuries. Not visible, but decisive. People came and went. Some disappeared overnight. Some came back worse than before. He stayed. No one congratulated him for that. One evening, after everyone had settled in, he sat alone near the window, watching the streetlights flicker on. He pressed his palm against the glass and felt the thin barrier between him and the city. I used to think surviving was the hard part, he thought. But surviving is easy. It's living that costs. He thought of prison. How the rules were clear there. Punishment was honest. Outside, consequences were quieter, slower, crueler. No walls. No end date. Just memory. He wondered if the city would ever stop seeing him as what he had been. Then he realized something colder, something truer. It didn't matter. Forgiveness, he understood now, was not a door someone else opened for you. It was a room you learned to live in alone. Weeks later, he passed her on the street. Pure coincidence. No planning. No signs from the universe. Just two lives crossing briefly. They stopped. You look different, she said. So do you, he replied. A pause. Not awkward. Just full. I'm not waiting anymore, she said gently. Not as a wound. As a fact. I know, he answered. You shouldn't have. She studied his face, then nodded. Take care of yourself. I'm trying, he said. She walked away, and this time it didn't break him. That night, he returned to the river one last time. Not to stand on the edge. Not to ask questions. Just to look. The water moved forward without hesitation. It didn't drag yesterday with it. It didn't promise tomorrow. It just went on. He took a deep breath. I can do that, he whispered. I can just go on. No redemption arc. No miracle. No applause. Just a man who had done terrible things, paid for them, and woke up every day choosing not to become them again. And that was the ending. Not freedom. Not happiness. But responsibility. And for the first time, that was enough. That was the end of the story. Stay with me until we meet again.